welcome to the very first episode of Unraveled and Rising podcast. We're so excited to have you here. I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle Kavanaugh, and we have...
My name is Terry Aragon, and I'm so excited that you're here.
And I'm Kimberly Diaz, and I'm excited to be here.
We are very excited to have you. The reason we're doing this, we're going to talk about this today. Our episode today is really about what is the Unraveled and Rising podcast, and why do we care? Why should you listen? Why do we want you here? What are we going to do for you, and how can we help you? We want to be a supportive community where we can all share together. We can be messy together. We can talk about our stories. We can talk about trauma. We can talk about anxiety, frustration, what's going on in the world today, and how we're all dealing with it. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, and that's okay. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not have it all figured out. None of us do. We're all in our 50s, and we're still trying to figure it out. So don't think you have to have it all figured out. And, if you're 18 or 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever it is, we are continuously growing as people, and we want to be here to support you. So today we're just going to share a little bit about our own story and why we wanted to do this podcast in the first place. The three of us have known each other for a long time. Terry and I for 30 years. And I'm not sure how long you guys have known each other. How long have you guys known each other?
About 6 years, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
They're both nurses. Yeah, they're both nurses in Denver. So they have a connection, with their work life. And Terry and I used to sling steaks at the Trail Dust Steakhouse back in the day. That's how we did it.
If you're from Colorado, you know the steakhouse. When you used to go in and get your tie cut off and get a free drink, and you'd be dancing on the dance floor doing the boot scoop. Cowboy hats.
And Terry was in nursing school at the time. They wore ties on purpose just because they wanted them cut off. It was a whole thing. It was a whole shtick that they had going on.
What was your name, Michelle?
I can't even remember.
I was half.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And for those of you just meeting me, I'm like 4'11", so I was literally the half pint.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yes. We've known each other a long time, and we have similar passions, the three of us. We want to be able to help people, and especially we feel as though young people are suffering a little bit, and we all have children. We have children in our 20s. And so we see what's going on with them and the struggles that they're dealing with. And we really want to provide some support in that way. We're not here to preach. We're not here to try to tell you, hey, this is how you do it and you have it all figured out. We are not going to do that because we are still learning ourselves. So for me personally, I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and I've been working on myself. I have been working on myself since my 20s. And it's been one of these kind of roads, just like a lot of us, where it's like up and down, lots of hills and valleys. And I always have tried to figure out how to fit in and do different things. And I have beat myself up a lot while doing that. I feel like I've always tried to be a people pleaser and wanted everybody to like me. And in doing so, I really have dishonored myself. I have not been who I am, my authentic self, and I have suffered through that. And I'm hoping that someone out there who's listening can relate to that, because I think a lot of us are always trying to live up to the standards. Like, it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, they used to call it back in the day, but now it's keeping up with everybody on social media and all these pictures of people that you're seeing and how you don't feel like you match up or are the same as them. And so you compare yourself to them, and that just starts a downhill spiral of you not being good enough and not worthy enough. And I have done it, and I still do it to this day sometimes. So it's like, none of us are fully healed. We're always growing, and there's challenges on a daily basis, but I am here to hopefully not only share my story, but be a listening ear for you, to be able to help you in any way that I possibly can. I do have a lot of love in my heart. I have a lot of care and compassion for other people, and especially kind of underserved populations like homeless and women in crisis and things like that. And you'll hear the other stories from the other women. They have similar interest and passion to do that. So that's why I'm here. I really wanted to do this podcast, and three of us have been talking about it for a while, and here we are. So I just want the other ladies to talk about their stories and why they care. So feel free to do so.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I'm glad we got to share a little bit of some funny stuff about us and how we met. And actually, Kimberly was she was actually my nursing supervisor. and taught me all I know about end of life care and hospice. And so we were introduced by a mutual friend. So I got to the honor of working beside her very intimately for several years. So it was really, truly a blessing. And funny, crazy thing is that was really, let me go back and just introduce myself. So again, I'm Terry D. Aragon. I'm actually a Colorado native. I've lived in Colorado my entire life. Love the mountains. Love any lakes I can be around, or mountains, or just sitting at the base of a mountain, or even just driving down the highway and looking at the Colorado skyline is just breathtaking to me. And I love it every single day. I feel so blessed to live in this part of the nation, if you would say. And we have great weather here. I think that Colorado, we get the bluest skies. We do get so much blue sky, and I'm so grateful for that. But my passion for this comes from going back to Kimberly. I was, at the same time that I met Kimberly, I was going through a separation and divorce, and I feel like my whole life exploded. And I really didn't even know who I was. And so what I just want to say to listeners out there is, what if the pain that you're feeling is the exact pain that you need to face, or that you get to face, and that freedom is on the other side of that? And, during that time, I would tell you, I was when we thought of this name, Unraveling and Rising, it was truly what I was going through. It took me back to that moment, because my whole life was unraveling. I didn't yet see the rising, but I knew that I needed to learn the truth about healing, about my identity and who I was, because my life blew up and I didn't know who I was anymore. So I was, here I was, a mom and a wife and a coworker, but being a wife and a mom had just been completely pulled out from under me. Not being a mom, but at the same time, my kids were moving out. One was graduating, and I was finding myself alone a lot of times, and it was very scary. Being alone with myself was scary. And so becoming whole was, they say that a lot, right? What is becoming whole? What is that? When I would hear that, what is becoming whole? And whole is healing. It's just healing those areas of our life. And it doesn't happen perfectly. It doesn't happen linear. Growth doesn't happen. It's a progression, and it's a journey, and allowing yourself grace during the journey, and some compassion for yourself as you learn more about you. And that is why I'm here and so passionate to be a part of this, because I know that there's many women out there that don't know who they are. They live by the labels that they've been given, whether it's wife, mom, girlfriend, coworker, daughter who's a caregiver for their mother, but who am I? Who am I? Have I really been able to live into my authenticity, or embody the person of who I am? And I don't think many of us, especially being women, do that. I think there's so many things put on us that we don't think that we can come out and be who we truly are. And I want you to know that you can be who you truly are. And that is exactly who everybody's looking for, is who you are. It's not the one that you think that people need you to be, or you think you need to be. It's who you really are. And who you really are is who they're looking for. And so that is what I'm passionate about doing. I love working with the incarcerated population. Every Sunday, I have the honor of going to Denver Women's Correctional Facility and working through a 14-week trauma program. That's what we're doing. We're learning more about who we are. Why have we made decisions in our lives that we did that have costed us pain and recurring experiences into our life? How did I play a part in this? And how did I maybe even not love myself and allow things to happen to me over and over? And why have I done that? So those are some things that I'm passionate about sharing, and helping women understand that you're not broken. And that word broken, I'm more and more just releasing that, because we are created perfectly by a creator, and we were not broken. And so we may be fragmented, and we may have split from ourselves for a time, but we can find our way back to ourselves. And so we don't need to be fixed. We just need to find the way home. And that's why I'm passionate about being here. And I'm so excited about spending time with you and getting to know all of you. So thank you.
Love that, Terry. Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Kimberly Diaz. As Terry mentioned, I was, instead of keeping up with the Joneses, as Michelle said, I'll say with Terry, I was kind of next to her through her journey. We were just getting to know each other, but I feel like I tried to be, a friend, a coworker, not have judgment, and just really kind of be there for her and support her as best as I could from that perspective. Also, Michelle, Terry, and I shared a coach, Dr. Ed, who's really been instrumental in my life for helping me really build a good foundation and help me discover who I am. I am by occupation a nurse, right? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, but who is Kimberly? Mm-hmm. And over the past about 3 years now, really been diving into who I am, dealing with estrangement from 2 of my daughters, challenges, with family life. I've been married 4 times. So always trying to find my worth and find that love that I really needed, but what I wasn't looking at was inside me. And so what I've really done is grown to love myself and realize that I have to love myself before I can love anybody else, before I can be loved by anybody else. So working through the trauma, I grew up, my parents were very young. I was the oldest of 4, so I was putting a caregiving role at a very young age. That's probably why I also became a nurse, right? Because we become nurses to try to take care of people because we weren't cared for. Yeah. So, and my motivation was my grandmother, Millie. She is my why. And I realize now she was the first adult really in my life that showed me unconditional love. So I work with seniors. I'm very passionate about seniors, especially those with dementia, end of life, and the adult children that are going through, the challenges of taking care of them. So that's really where my passion is trying to help those folks that are dealing with their own trauma. We all have, the stuff that we grew up with, and a lot of them feel like they're being tasked with having to take care of somebody that never took care of them. So I just really wanted to be a part of this podcast to share my journey. Today's my birthday. I'm 56 today. And, I'm growing. I know my worth much more than I did, but boy, do I wish I knew this stuff about 20 or 30 years ago. But that's why I'm here. I'm excited to share and spend time with these beautiful ladies.
That's a really good point, too, that you just brought up, Kim, about wishing things that you knew younger. And I wanted to open that up for discussion to think about as we, think about our episodes coming up. We will be interviewing people and sharing stories. We're going to share our own personal stories in the coming episodes. We'll dive deep into kind of the things that happened to us and how we maneuver through life with that and how we've been rising, in the last several years of our life. But what, Terry, is something that you wish, knowing now, looking back, that you would have known or could tell yourself as a young person that would have changed things when you were young?
Wow, so many things. But I think, I want to piggyback on what Kimberly said and just give some credit where credit is due. And all of us beautiful ladies here have been coached by Dr. Ed Wheeler. He has been my coach. I am going on 7 years with him, and we still meet twice a month. And he met me at one of my darkest stages of my life. And so I have so many things that I would tell my younger self. But one of the things that I would definitely say is that love yourself, forgive yourself, show yourself grace, and everything, absolutely everything is happening for you and not to you. I just didn't see it then. I just didn't have that perspective, because I thought, how could this be good? How could a love I had for my deepest valley and journey was, I say my wilderness season, and the dark night of the soul was when I was going through my divorce. Divorce would be the last thing I would ever wish on anyone, because it doesn't matter if the relationship was a healthy relationship or not. There are experiences that you share with this person, and we had children together, and it's painful. So even the painful things, it was something that I was used to, and there was still love there. And so I couldn't imagine how this could be happening for me, because we were splitting and my kids were going through a lot. There was a lot of confusion. And looking back now, I was not even at a place that I could offer healthy love. I didn't know what love was. He didn't know what love was. And still I can sit here and say to you that we loved each other the best that we could have. Like, there was genuine love there. We just didn't know how to do it correctly. And so I don't blame him, and I don't blame myself. I blame that I just didn't know. And I needed to go through this journey to be able to learn how to properly love myself. Because quite honestly, Michelle, I didn't know how to receive love for me. I didn't know what love was. So how can I expect myself to love someone when I didn't even know how to receive love for myself? And so I can't give to others what I can't even receive for me. And so I think that is one thing I would love to share with you and to my younger self is to forgive yourself, have grace, and you're learning and to be able to do what you want to do or to give others, you've got to be able to give it to yourself.
So true. That's such a big one. And I think for me, the thing that I wish that I would have known or had the awareness of when I was young is to stop comparing myself to others. Mm-hmm. Because that had such a profound impact on me when I was young, because I was always trying to live up to whatever I thought somebody else was, or whatever model of whatever they were. And I wanted to live up to that. Mm-hmm. I always made myself feel bad about myself because I couldn't meet it. I couldn't be that. And so I beat myself up about that and thought that something was wrong with me, that I was not right, or I was not worthy, or I was not whole because I can't be this. Mm-hmm. And even now when I look back at photos, I used to think I was enormously fat and ugly when I was a teenager. When I look back at photos, I wasn't. And it's like, what was I thinking? I mean, I thought that I was so disgusting when I was a teenager, and I look back at photos and I'm not at all. And so I'm like, what was I thinking in my head to think that I was ugly and fat and gross and all these things? It just blows my mind that that's what I think. And I bet you there's a lot of people out there who are, with social media and the internet these days. Thank God we didn't have that when we were kids. Not that it's a bad thing. It can be used for good too. I'm not discounting it, but all the images that you are exposed to of trying to live up to that. And it's like, I can't even imagine, male or female, how hard that would be to not constantly compare yourself to those folks and think that you're not okay. You're not skinny enough. You're not tall enough. You don't have the right hair. It's like just the physical stuff alone. You don't have enough money. You don't have the right car. I mean, it's like, it's endless. And if I could say to anybody out there who's listening, just catch yourself today. When you're going through the day or whatever, wherever you are while you're listening to this podcast, just think about how often today you are thinking about, oh gosh, I wish I had that, or oh, I wish I did that, or I wish I was like this person. Just see if you can pin it, if you can catch yourself doing it, because I guarantee you're doing it a lot. And I'm telling you, there's no good that can come from that, because it doesn't do you any good. You are uniquely you, and you have all this power and strength within you that other people around you can grow and benefit from. But if you're constantly comparing yourself to others, you're not going to be your authentic self. You're not going to show and give all that wonderful power and strength that you could, and to help even your family or your community or your job or your school or whatever it might be. You're hindering that. So I just that's the thing I would tell myself. It would have saved me a lot of, hurt and pain if I would have done that. What about you, Kim?
So for me, and actually Dr. Ed taught me this, and it was kind of like a aha yet duh moment. I wish that I knew a long time ago that I didn't have to listen to that flipping voice in my head, that I could just shut it down. I've named her Veronica now, Zip It Veronica, but just that small thing just felt so powerful to me. And because of that, I, for years and years, walked around with this just sick feeling in my stomach all the time. And I was so used to that I remember talking to Dr. Ed. When it went away, I was like, wait a minute, where is it? And he's like, well, do you miss it? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But it had become such a part of me, who I was, that when it wasn't there, it felt very odd. But just the negativity and the you're not good enough and you're not this and you're not that and you deserve this, and you know, just in your head, to know that you have the power to shut that down was just mind blowing to me. And now that I think about it, I think about it, I don't, it's not there. I mean, it still comes up, absolutely, but nowhere near the amount that it always did. I swear, me and my head used to just, argue all day long or talk all day long. And to just know that you can shut that down, I don't know. That's been life-changing for me, truly.
So can I just share a plug real quick for the audience?
Yes, please.
There is an amazing book that helped me with this voice that Kimberly's talking about. And first, it's recognizing that it's there and that it's not actually you talking, because we think that it's us. And it's by Michael Singer, and it's called The Untethered Soul. So if you guys are readers, go get you that book and listen to it, because it was a game changer for me. And it's funny that you said that, Kimberly, because I've named mine Queen Bee. And there's a whole story behind the name Queen Bee, but we'll just say we call it Queen Bee. Maybe we'll get into that someday. But and when you were talking, Michelle, I was sitting there going, who says? Who says? You know what I mean? Like, when I'm hearing that voice in my head, I'm like, who says so? Like, who's saying that? That's not me talking. But sometimes when I hear those funky things coming in my head, I'm like, who says? Like, I'm thinking this and going, who says so? You know what I mean? So it's really like interrupting it and saying, let me question this. Because, really all we've done, and what I've done for so many years, is believe the stories that I told myself over and over and over again. And so finding out that it was actually a story, because after years of saying the same thing, you actually believe it. Right. So actually,
the reason I'm laughing, Terry, is because it makes me think of my grandmother, who used to peek out the window and make stories up about the neighbors, because she was always, I would do it with her, because that's what we did when we went back to South Dakota. And we'd be looking out the window and she'd be like, oh, they're selling drugs across the street. I mean, she had no idea what she was talking about, but she would make up these stories in her head. And it made me laugh when you said stories in our head, because I keep thinking of that. It's like we make this crap up, and she was just making stuff up because, that had no factual basis whatsoever.
It's not so, with my parents, and I'll share a lot of things but with my parents' divorce, like, I, as a child, put in my head that I had something to do with, I couldn't make my parents happy. Right. So their divorce was somehow my fault. And so decades of worth issues over that. And it was absolutely not the truth. Right. And these can start from so long ago. And I don't think
also,
and they lie.
Yeah.
And it's also
lies. It's not true.
It is. Yeah. Because my story, I feel like I did exactly what my mom did. You know, her life path. Yep. I think I took a very similar path to my mom, and probably because that's what I learned from her when I was young, and I did the exact same thing pretty much. So it's like, it's the same. I find it so fascinating how that happens. And the older I get, the more like my mom and my grandma that I am. And I'm like, whoa, even like one of my toes. My grandma had a curled toe. My toe is starting to curl. I literally am turning into my grandmother. And so now I have this thing I wear on my toe because I don't want it to curl. So I got this straightener thing on there because I'm worried about my curling toe.
That is hilarious. And you are so right. Like, the thing that we don't want to become, we begin to become. Because I think in our mind, we think that so much that we actually create the very thing that we create, you know. I remember, as you said that, I was like, I remember saying, when I get married, I'm never getting divorced. And my whole thing ended up exactly the same way as my parents' marriage. So it's insane how that happens. And so when we can actually face that, instead of just not wanting to deal with it, you know, and then it happening in our life, and then us having to actually face it for real. So there's so many things we can face before things happen if we're attuned to that.
Yeah. And if there's anybody out there struggling, you know, if there's anybody struggling with getting along with their parents or their children or whatever, we have that you know, that place. I feel like with family members, the hurt can really happen so deeply because these are people that you really love and have been in your life, you know, your whole life. And so the pain can go deep with that. And I know lots of people who don't even talk to their kids. I know, Kim, you're dealing with that, or talk to their parents or whatever. And it's like trying to deal and work through that is a really tough thing. I still have that with my father that I'm struggling with. And I just texted him last week and said, hey, I feel like I'm the one putting all the effort into our relationship. You know, I'm the one always reaching out and always calling and always trying. And I feel like you're not participating. And he said, he apologized right away and said, oh, I'm sorry. You know, I'm just, and I need to be better at that. I just stay in my own little world. And so it's like, but now we're able to have a conversation about it. That's not us yelling at each other and being horrible to each other, but it still hurts. Even to this day, I still have hurt that I know that it's me, that it's my unworthiness that's popping up. And that's where the hurt's coming from. It's not really my dad, but I can voice it now in a way that is not angry and is not coming at him, you know, with everything. So.
Well, and congratulations on the work that you've done on yourself, because I know the old Michelle would have beat herself up for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and would have never confronted it and would have never asked the question. And sometimes we just think people are supposed to know, right? Like, you should know this. And we don't communicate or use our words. But when we actually share with someone the way that it's, without saying you're making me feel this way, but saying this is how this is making me feel, they can't argue with how it's making you feel, but they can shut off when you say this is your fault. But when we can address them in that way, they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. And you're so right. You're so right. And that is such a healthy way of dealing with it. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and just being curious, right? So you weren't accusing, you're like, hey, this is my observation of what's been going on. And he owned it. So absolutely good for you. That's a win. And
so the way that you approach it, right, Kimberly?
Yeah.
Because you can come at someone saying, well, this is how you make me feel. And when you say this is how you make me feel, you're attacking them, and immediately go up, and there's never going to be any progress. But when we turn it back to us and say, this is how that made me feel. Maybe you didn't mean it, but this is how it made me feel. People go, oh, I didn't realize that I was doing that. And they actually can sit back and think about it for a little bit. It's such a
and if they get upset about it, then that's their thing going on inside of them. As we all know now, if they get upset with you just asking a question or telling them how you feel, then that's on them. And, you know, you can't control their thoughts and their behaviors and how they're going to respond, but you can have boundaries and protect yourself. And we're going to have a whole episode on boundaries because Terry's got some great and some great stuff on that. Because again, Terry and Kim are also being trained on, you know, trauma coaching and therapy. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Terry. What's involved in that as far as somebody who needs some help? How can we direct someone who needs a little bit of help and maybe some direction? Because we had Dr. Ed in our lives. How do they get a Dr. Ed in their lives if they really are needing some help?
Well, and that was where my love for coaching did. I went into a nurse coaching program that I completed, and specializing in trauma recovery. And so, Dr. Ed has just been so valuable for me, but it's not, for me, it wasn't just mindset. It was also what was happening in the body. And we always hear, there's a great book out there called The Body Keeps Score. And it's actually very true. Your body remembers. So your mind may have forgotten, and our mind usually does that. It protects us and it forgets those events. There might be times you might be wanting to talk about things and you can't even recall the events, right? That's because your brain protects you and it doesn't want you to remember that. But then what it does is it constantly scans your outer environment and your body remembers the event. So then what happened years ago is still continuing to happen and you're continuing to still react to it. And it may not even be the exact event, but your body's reacting to anything that does not feel safe. So if it was a father who has a loud voice and all of a sudden it's a supervisor who's very authoritative and coming down on you, all of a sudden you can't determine, is this the past or am I in the future, or am I living in the present? It doesn't know. It just, your body remembers. So there might even be things in this podcast that come up that might start to tug on something or create a response in you where your heart rate goes up and you're feeling uneasy. And what I would just say is, like Kimberly said, get curious and reach out. You can always put something in the podcast here and we can respond to it. But there are some great techniques out there that can just actually bring you back into the present and go, there will be some things that we share, some prompts that might help you move forward and for you to be able to just ask yourself some of these questions. Michelle said something about her dad and, just bringing it into their awareness, where your awareness, where you can go, oh yeah, this is about him and not about me. And so getting yourself curious, going, what could have happened there that could have made him treat me this way as I was growing up. So it's not always about us.
Yeah.
And I was just going to mention, like I had said in my intro, just about that feeling I had in my stomach all the time. And that was the memory that my body carried for just, various different things. And the other thing I was going to mention is I didn't realize previously how much I disassociate. And I still do it now, but now I recognize it and I'm able to focus my, thoughts and mind on something that's tangible so I can snap myself out of it. But just even last week, I forget, I had some traumatic stuff that went on and I could feel myself disassociating.
Yes.
So bringing myself back, but awareness is huge.
That's that disconnection. That's that split. And I didn't think I disassociated either. And then as I'm talking about it, even with my kids are like, Mom, you do it all the time. I'm not even present. I don't even think you hear it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it was just I was so mind blowing. And so you're right. Like when I feel myself going into la la land, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I got to bring myself back.
Come on back. Like Dr. Joe says, stay.
Yeah. But then the other thing is like, what is happening right now in the moment that is causing me to disappear?
Right.
Like, what is it? Like becoming aware of, okay, what's happening around me that I'm all of a sudden disappearing from, like going somewhere else. That's important. That's key.
It absolutely is. We're going to touch on a lot of these topics in great detail. The goal for us is to really focus on one kind of topic or area in regards to trauma or recovery or rising or unraveling or however it might be. We're also going to have we're going to have guests on here that are going to share their stories about kind of their path and how they were able to come back from a lot of things and still grow moving forward. But that's really what this podcast is about. Again, this is for anybody out there who's really just trying to find some sort of community or place, safe place where they can, be a part of what's going on out in the world and how we can all support each other to deal with it, because it's tough. there's so much stuff you see on the news and out on the internet that's negative, and then you have the opposite thing happening where everybody acts like everything's great on Facebook because they don't want anybody to know that they're really struggling on the inside. And I don't know about you, but anybody that I know, Terry, you had this recently, but I know folks that I've known that have left this planet, voluntarily. I had no idea that they were struggling on the inside. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had no idea that they were at that point of struggle on the inside because they didn't show it on the outside. And so that to me just shows you that there's people that you're walking with, or you're at work with, or you're, in touch with every day who may be really struggling on the inside, but they're not expressing it. So this is a way for us to be able to have people come in and realize that they're not, there is hope, that everything's going to be, there's a way to deal with some of these things that are going on. I think that is something that I really want to stress as we move forward. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but.
Well, and just to know that you're not alone. Like you are not alone. And our mind is great at making us feel like we're alone, but you are not alone. And everybody is going through something. There is not one person out there that is not going through something. It affects all of us, and in different ways, right? But you're not alone. And so the very thing that you're going through is something that somebody else that's watching this podcast may be going through as well. So we invite you to subscribe and to follow us and leave comments so that we can just come together as a community and share the things that we're struggling with. And I promise you, and this is the challenge, I guess, because I promise you, when you begin to do that, you're going to see how many people respond to what you share, and how many people are just going through the exact same thing. And many things will, it flabbergasts me when I have conversations with people, especially in recovery. I work with a lot of people in the recovery space. And it's like, oh my gosh, I went through that too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And as we begin to just open up and share some of these things, and then the gift of that is the weight that comes off of us. So please engage with us and ask your questions. And if there's tools you're looking for, we can share that stuff with you here. And I just want to put a plug in. We keep talking about Dr. Ed. I've already asked him to be one of our first guests, if not the first guest on our podcast. Love that.
Yeah.
Because he could really speak to just about all three of us and be able to share with the community how he has seen us grow. And so stay tuned for that, because we will be bringing speakers like that in. And I definitely have already asked him, but definitely would think he would be one of our first ones, because we keep talking about him on here. So
yeah, you have to know, you have to have a face with the name so you can recognize who we're talking about in the future. Yeah.
100%.
And we'll have lots of other.
I was going to add.
Sorry, Kim, go for it.
Oh, no, that's okay. As I see myself playing with my rubber band, I'm also diagnosed with ADD. So I'm sure there's some of you out there that can relate to that. And so you probably will see me playing with things, but that's what I do to soothe myself. I was also going to say, if there's any type of speakers or subject that you'd like to hear about, please let us know. Between the three of us, we know a lot of people. We've got people that are interested in being on, and we have a lot of resources that we can tap into. So if there's a specific topic or a person you'd like to hear from, please let us know so we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to share one of the other things. Kimberly and I shared, we're both nurses. I mean, our combination alone of years is 40 years, at least 40 years or more together of nursing experience. And so the other thing that's I'm very passionate about talking about is the effects of trauma on our physical health, and the things that are created because of so many years of unresolved trauma, and what being in an elevated state of cortisol, having so much cortisol in our body, what that actually what it does to us physically, because we weren't created
right here. This is where it is, right here. It's right in the belly.
Well, and many more things than that.
Well, and for me, my dystonia, right? I have deep brain stimulation from a movement disorder that came on in my 20s due to trauma, due from, this thing that was living there, and it was sparked, so it manifested. So,
well, lots of things.
That's definitely something.
Yeah, lots of things like autoimmune diseases and things like that, where trauma comes out. It's going to come out, and it's manifesting physically in our body. So we're gonna bring topics like that. So any types of things that you're interested in, please share with us. We are here for you, and we want to bring value to you.
And thank you so much for joining us on our very first episode. We just feel honored if you're listening to this or you share it with someone. We feel very honored to be able to be here and to have access to this, and that you guys are going to listen and maybe take a nugget from it somewhere. We feel very honored, much gratitude for that. And again, we have so much good stuff coming up.
So yes, just click on subscribe, comment, share this with someone that you think might benefit from it. And yeah, we're excited that you're here, and we don't take this for granted. We feel very grateful. Sometimes it's the journey. It's the test, right? It's that test that gives us this journey to be able to share with you.
Absolutely. We will see you next time. And how are we going to end it? What were you going to say, Kim? How are we going to end these podcasts?
You've been listening to Unraveled and Rising. Take care of your soul, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Take care of your soul, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.